15.26, consider the following equilibrium for which K is equal to, and then it gives us the reaction. Then you'll notice it says, what is the value of Kp for this reaction, which is this reaction, but in reverse? And so you can see that they took this reaction and turned it around. It's the same coefficient, the same coefficient, the same coefficient, the same coefficient. It's just backwards. And so when you do the backwards of the reaction, let's just take a look at what happens to the equilibrium constant. For this one, the equilibrium constant would have been O2 times HCl to the fourth power. I'll just put it in parentheses here because it's easier to draw than brackets, and we'll just say that these are the partial pressures. And then this would be divided by the reactants, and so that'd be to the second power times H2O to the second power. Now, when we look at this one in letter A, K would become products. These guys are now products. And so it would be Cl2 to the second power times H2O to the second power divided by these guys now became reactants, and so those would go on the bottom. So the O2 times the HCl to the fourth power would go on the bottom. And so you can see that it's actually just the inverse of this. And so to find K, what we could just do is take 0.075 and we could find 1 over K for this reaction right here. And so you'd type in 1 over 0.075 for this into your calculator, and you would end up with 13.3 as the equilibrium constant for this expression right here, letter A, this equation. Letter B, what is the value of Kp for the reaction? And so then in this case, you'll notice that they took the reaction that was right up here, and they cut it in half. So it's 1 here now, 1 here now. Instead of 4, it's now 2, and instead of 1, it's 1/2. And so if you rewrote the equilibrium constant expression for this, now it would be O2, but it would be to the 1/2 power instead of to the 1. It would be HCl, and it would be to the squared power instead of to the 4. And it would be Cl, but now it would be to the 1 power instead of 2. And it would be H2O, and it would be to the 1 power instead of 2. And so you see what they did here actually is took each one of these numbers and took the square root of it, or multiplied it by 1/2. And so if you're finding the K for this, you'd simply take your 0.075 and you'd raise that to the 1/2 power, or square root it. And so 0.075 square rooted is 0.2742. And so you can see that the two pieces you're supposed to learn here is that if you have the reverse of the reaction, you take the inverse. If you multiply the reaction by a particular number, in this case the reaction was multiplied by 1/2, you raise it to that power, and so you raise it to the 1/2 power.